I want to bring you back home now and have this conversation, because as the 2025 class of matriculants prepare to enter the workplace and begin further studies that hopefully will shape their future careers, questions are being raised about the prospects of finding jobs under the current unemployment crisis in South Africa. Now, according to Stats South Africa, the official unemployment rate for youth between the ages of 15 and 34 stands at 46.1%, and that is in the narrow definition. The expanded definition has it above 50%. And in the second quarter, that was the number that was reported, around 46.1%, which is significantly higher than the national average of 33.2%, which raises concerns about whether schools are providing adequate career guidance to help young people choose appropriate subjects and make informed educational and occupational decisions. Now, I want to unpack this a little bit further with Adelaide Matlejoane, who is an HR practitioner. Adelaide, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Now, we know that the unemployment story of South Africa is one that disproportionately affects the unskilled. That is to say that if you have a university degree, you're more than 90% likely to enter the job market and gain meaningful employment one way or the other. Graduate unemployment in South Africa has fallen back to single digits. It is unskilled labor that's the real crisis in South Africa. And so what is the pathway for a matriculant who may not necessarily consider university as in the conventional sense as a pathway to upskilling themselves for the job market?
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that question as well. So it's quite a number of things that matriculants can do, and it's also quite a number of dynamics as well. And I think as a country, we need to start encouraging other things that are not necessarily the normal maybe, or just that path of school. We also just need to expand the skills development. We need to be able to expand how people communicate. We need to train them about the world of work, or just let them learn more about the world of work. Things like communication, time management, they should be able to have some problem-solving abilities as well. And it's also, they can actually go further after matric in what we call the TVET colleges in South Africa. So that really just gives apprenticeship, internships, and we are actually running short of skills around trade, your plumbers, your electricians, and the TVET colleges actually have a lot of skills around hospitality, IT, and also healthcare, where people can actually go in and learn practical skills. And that can actually be started before they actually finish their matric. Let them then be guided into those areas and go into a TVET college and start from there and whatever up until, and they could actually qualify and have an N6, which is an NQF level 6 qualification, but having the practical experience as well. So people that start, for instance, hair salons, people that are nail technicians, people that are plumbers, those are careers that are needed, and they can be taken care of by that vocational education that is so much needed in our country. Because just looking at people being in the science field only, we also need the plumbers for our buildings, for our houses, for anything that you can think of. Yeah. So it's important to expose more on that.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the route of getting a vocational trade skill rather than a professional trade skill through which you can seek employment. What is the absorption rate of someone who, for instance, wants to become an artisan?
Actually, there's quite a number of TVET colleges around the country which offer the apprenticeship as well. And they actually have what we call partnerships with some of the corporates that need these skills quite big. So they are there. and they actually start before matric. And sometimes it is important for the LO teacher to identify and see if this child is gifted in a different way and not the normal stream of maths and science, for instance, and guide them accordingly. So career guiding, career assessment is actually needed at high school level, at secondary level. And once they are able to do that, then we will be able to actually take these children to where they're actually supposed to be. I mean, if you look at some of the mechanics that we have maybe in the townships, did they really go for formal education? No, but they're able to do what needs to be done. How do we then take those and then put together and channel them and educate them and make them do their businesses much better? So the part of entrepreneurship then comes in as well, which I think is a skill that is needed at secondary education level.
Yeah, let's talk about a post-qualification transition into the workplace. There seems to be quite a tension there as well for a lot of young people who perhaps already have the necessary skills, but still struggle to find employment opportunities. Earlier on, you mentioned soft skills, Adelaide, as an important thing to teach young people about, particularly job seekers, such as communication, time management, and all of that. But for young people who say, look, I've gone through the system, I have a national diploma, I have a vocation, but I'm still struggling to find employment opportunity. How can they prepare themselves for job readiness specifically?
Yeah. So recently, actually, in the month of December 2025, we had a client that literally asked us to come in and just to spend a day with their bursary recipients who are, graduates, and they're going to be going into the world of work. And we just did very basic things. We did things like your social media presence. What are you posting on your social media? Because sometimes when employers look for people, they go into there. Your CV, one of the things that we encourage them to do is that do your own CV. I know that you might not have what it takes. You go to an internet cafe and you make your CV, but those CVs are they are generic for everybody. So you need to put down what is it that you have done and what you can do. I mean, you find a CV that says, I've got communication, I've got problem-solving skills, but when you ask them in an interview, what are your attributes? They're not able to say that, but it's actually sitting on their CV. Tell them about time management, how important it is to sort of go to an interview early or be on time for your interview, and also ensure that, I'm sorry about that, also ensure that they understand what the organization is about, what they're doing. Do a little bit of research, be interested in the role, read the job description, be interested in the organization, be interested in what you are supposed to be doing. And we just take them through all those very basic things and really how to prepare your CV. We also just take them through interview. So we role play interviews so that they know what to expect when that happens.
Yeah. What is the first thing that a recruiter looks at when a CV comes across their desk?
There's quite a number of things. So one of the things that we said to them is that, and I think there's a tendency with young people that they seem to change numbers all the time. So you look at the CV, you read the cover letter and see what this person, is it a generic thing that they have done for all the positions that they've applied for, or they've really thought about this particular one and put down their understanding of the role and what is it that they think they can contribute into that position. And then we also look at where they are geographically, and depending on whether the position is remote or it's hybrid or is it physical. We also look at we look at qualifications, yes. Not much of the experience of a person is straight from school, but we also look at what are the things that you did whilst you were in high school? What are the things that you contributed to? Were you in a leadership role? Did you take part in community community initiatives around your school, or what is it that you actually did when you were there? So it's quite a number of things that we look at, but in the interview, the biggest thing I've always said to people, we hire attitude and we train the skill, because we can't actually train attitude.
Yeah, and just lastly on job readiness, you provided a service to a client where you had a session with, excuse me, with the beneficiaries of their bursary scheme, where you were able to do mock interviews with them. Now that's a very important exercise for someone seeking to enter the job market. For someone who does not have the money or can't afford to pay for the services of somebody to train them through an interview process, what are some of the best ways to prepare for an interview?
You know what? We live in an age whereby everything is really online. I mean, when we grew up, we had to go to the library to look for information, take a taxi to town and go to the library. There's everything on the internet. There's everything as far as AI is concerned. People can, I mean, if they are in a school and they have access to the internet, they can actually look it up and say how to prepare for an interview. What are the do's and don'ts? What is it that I need to do? And it is there. Yeah. And that's how beautiful our world that we're living in right now is, that there is access.
Yeah. Every once in a while, there is a sort of buzz that comes through the job market, and one that we're in right now is artificial intelligence. Everyone thinks that if you put anything AI related on your cover letter on the first page of your CV, that you stand a chance, even if you don't necessarily have highly sophisticated skills in machine learning, but maybe you have some level of applicability, understanding of artificial intelligence for different functions or in the job market. Does it actually matter?
It matters, and the reason I would say that it matters is because that's where the world is going into. And if you're not going with that, you might just be left behind. And I would just like to say to young people, it will make your life easier. You'd always be upskilling because things change all the time. So it is important. It also does contribute to effectiveness in the workplace as well, but it also makes you be effective as long as it's used responsibly, and it also enhances your knowledge and also your skills towards being a better person or a better worker into the future.
Yeah. We're going to have to leave it there. Adelaide, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights. Really do appreciate it. Adelaide Matlejoane is a HR practitioner, talking to us there about some of the things that young people, particularly matriculants, who are now beginning to think about either study opportunities or the job market, are to think through.